name is Shelby, and I am a dietetics student at the University of Alabama. So that means I study like nutrition and wellness and all that good stuff. And what I'm here to talk about today is basically just how to read a food label and the ingredients in it. So, first things first, how many of you have a sweet tooth? You really like sweets?
Oh, I'm not.
Okay. Well, today what we're going to be talking about are added sugars specifically, or like hidden sugars. So we're going to talk about how to identify them and exactly why they're important. So, first things first, what are the negative side effects of just regular old table sugar? Weight gain. That's one. Diabetes is a really big one. What was that? Yeah. So, we know what regular table sugar can do. This is the sugar that we just talked about. It's what's in cookies, it's what's in cupcakes, that kind of stuff. But of course, there's the other kind of sugar, added sugar. Now, this one has all of the same side effects as regular old table sugar. But the difference is that it's much harder to spot, and it's in a lot more foods than just regular old table sugar. So it can still cause like heart disease and liver and pancreas issues, but they like to kind of change the name a little bit so that you don't just immediately cast aside the items that you picked out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how to find those sugars and how to identify them. So the first big key thing with identifying a sugar on a nutrition label is OSE. O-S-E. Typically, sugars have O-S-E at the end of their name. So things like dextrose. Exactly, glucose. Dextrose is a really big one you'll see on food labels. Fructose is another big one. And sucrose. All with that same OSE at the end. Another way to identify it are syrups. So things like, and I'm sure you know this one, high fructose corn syrup. Or malt syrup. So there are a bunch of different names for it. But these are two good key ways to figure out exactly what they are. So there are some nutrition labels on the table in front of you. There are labels A and label B. So if you could grab some and either underline or circle or write down the names of the added sugars that you can find in those labels. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that, and then we'll go over. Yes?
Is this a real label?
They are. They are both real labels that I took off of certain food items. And I'll reveal what they are in a minute. But, yeah, they're real. Just either circle, underline, or write down the added sugars you can find in the nutrition label. All right. So let's start with label B. What added sugars have you found in label B?
High fructose corn syrup.
Yep. And are there any guesses as to what label B might be?
I'm thinking it'd be like a lemon or orange soda or drink.
Okay.
Because that is citric acid and
Mhm.
sodium benzoate, which is a flavor agent like drink it. So it's probably like an orange soda.
It's a good guess. What about label A? Which sugars did you find in label A?
I thought it'd be like dextrose,
Uh-huh.
high fructose corn syrup,
Yep.
corn syrup, and sugar.
Yep. So what do you think label A is?
Some kind of pastry store.
No.
The East.
So like pastry maybe?
Pizza.
Pizza maybe? That's a good guess.
Because as tomato puree and pork on it.
It's actually tomato sauce. So like regular Prego tomato sauce that you could find on the shelf of any grocery store, and what people use to make, of course, spaghetti. So does anyone suspect that there might be that much added sugar in regular old spaghetti sauce? It seems like something you'd find on like the back of like a brownie label, right? Well, while sugar, added sugars can be in any item that you obviously suspect, like the soda, which was a Sprite, by the way, so you weren't far off. But they can be in items that you don't suspect them to be in at all. And of course, there are always ways to reduce sugar in your diet, period, whether it's hidden or not. So on the line below it, what are some healthy snacks that you could list to have in place of like that sugary soda?
Fruits and nuts.
Yep, always fruits and nuts, really good alternative. Uh-huh. Water, that's a great alternative, especially soda.
Avocados.
Avocados are great sources of unsaturated fats, which are the really healthy ones that you want. Flavored water is a good alternative. Typically, it doesn't have that much sugar in it. Yeah. But instead of drinking soda or a brownie, all of those suggestions are really good. And now, while sugar really, I mean, it tastes good, it can cause a lot of health issues, especially if you eat it consistently over a long period of time. And it's important to know when you're consuming it. If you don't know to look for added sugars, you have no idea when you're eating that sugar. So you could be eating pasta for dinner and have no idea the amount of sugar you're putting in your body. So I do have a list of those added sugars. So I can trade you for your labels. And you can have this list so that when you go home today, you can raid your pantry and tell your parents all about all the added sugars that you have in there. Does anyone have any questions about added sugars or maybe just dietetics in general?
Okay, you know how you got Diet Coke, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's no sugar, is that sugar?
Yes, so they don't use sugar. They use aspartame. And aspartame is made in the lab, and it's an artificial sweetener. So while it does taste really sweet, it's not sugar. So they're not lying to you there.
I thought it was sugar.
Yeah, typically aspartame is, it was actually found when a man was doing like, tests in his lab, and he accidentally touched aspartame, which he was using for something completely unfood related. Touched his mouth and realized how sweet it was. And then he marketed it, and they started putting it in diet beverages. Completely by accident.
So what was it like originally when used for?
Oh goodness. If I could remember, I'll tell you, but I can't remember exactly what he was looking for.
Most things would come by accident.
Yep, that's true.